Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we have a very weather-focused lesson. It's all about all the horrible things that can happen to you with the weather.
Exactly. So as you know, there are many different types of weather, and not only rain or sunshine, but many other phenomena. So we're going to take a look at some of those. But before we go into it, let's take a look at one word on Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
Okay, so we're talking about extreme weather today. That's not rain or drizzle or sunshine. We're talking about really interesting, unique, and sometimes devastating things that can happen. So today's vocabulary word is Armageddon.
All right, so Armageddon. Now, you've probably seen the movie Armageddon. So what does this word mean?
Okay, so this word is a reference to the end of the world. It means the time when the world will end because of a great catastrophe or a great disaster.
Okay, so everyone talks about Armageddon. It's mentioned in the Bible. And as you say, it's when the world stops existing.
Exactly. So think about that one as we listen to today's dialogue. We will be back in a minute to talk about what's going on.
Those are the headlines for today. And now for the International Weather Report with Mike Sanderson.
Thank you, Bob. This past week has been the beginning of Armageddon for many, as a series of unprecedented meteorological events occurred around the world. In Switzerland, a major avalanche was reported in the Alps. Fortunately, no one was injured. Due to the extreme cold this winter, a blizzard has struck the U.S. Midwest, causing classes in schools and universities to be temporarily canceled. Moving on to Latin America, Ecuador has suffered a 6-month drought that has not only affected farming, but has also forced the closure of the hydroelectric power plant that provides electricity for the entire country. In Chile, a major earthquake that registered 7.5 on the Richter scale struck the southern region. Losses are reported to be in the billions. Authorities have not yet released an official statement.
Not a great week for the world. Any good news?
I'm afraid not, Bob. One of the major volcanoes in Mexico has erupted, causing major floods and landslides in the region. Meanwhile, Mexico's coast has been hit by Hurricane Liliana, and officials say that all the seismic activity leads them to believe that a tsunami may hit Central America, affecting Honduras, Guatemala, and Panama. That's all the news we have for today, but stay tuned for updates on the 6 o'clock news. Back to you, Bob.
All right, we're back. And, well, this weather report is not really far from the truth. I mean, this kind of stuff happens every day all over the world, right?
That's correct. And unfortunately, it's been happening very frequently in the past couple months. We've heard of a lot of earthquakes and volcanoes and things like that. So this is very valuable stuff when you're trying to talk about current events as well.
Okay. So why don't we start now analyzing a couple of different words and phrases on language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Well, the first vocabulary item we have here is meteorological event. It's a real mouthful. It's a long word.
Meteorological.
So, for example, meteorological means having to do with the weather, something that's related to the weather. So, a meteorological event could be rain, snow.
Okay, so it has to do with meteorology.
Meteorology is the study of the weather, and someone who does this is a meteorologist.
So usually the weathermen that you see on TV, they're meteorologists.
So let's go now to Marco, our resident meteorologist.
There we go.
Our resident meteorologist.
Right, okay. So meteorological events. Now moving on, one of the first events that we're going to look at is an avalanche.
Avalanche. An avalanche has to do with snow. This means that when a mountain that has a lot of snow on it, maybe part of that snow breaks off and starts to roll down, you have a wall of snow that comes down. That's an avalanche.
That's an avalanche.
So you could say, avalanche. And the snow comes down. And it's actually very dangerous because people can get buried under the snow.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so another event that has to do with snow is a blizzard.
Okay, a blizzard is different from an avalanche because an avalanche, maybe it's not snowing, the snow just falls. But in a blizzard, you're talking about a storm of snow.
But it's like a lot of snow coming down from the sky.
So much snow that you probably can't see anything. There's just white everywhere.
Okay. All right, so that's a blizzard. A lot of snow coming down from the sky. Now, moving on, the opposite of snow and things being wet is we have a drought.
Yeah, this is the opposite of wet, actually. So there's no rain in a drought. A drought means that things are very dry. The land is very dry.
Okay, so it's a period of time that there's no snow, there's no water, there's no rain, there's nothing. It's very, very dry. We're going through a drought.
Correct. And the problem with a drought is very dangerous is because people cannot grow food in a drought. And so lots of people starve when this happens.
Okay, so you got to watch out for a drought. Now, in this case, it not only affected farming, but also we have a hydroelectric power plant that can't work, obviously, because there's no water.
So hydro means water. Hydroelectric means electricity that is generated by flowing water. And so, for example, a mill, something that churns water on a river, is a way to get power from water. But
Right.
a hydroelectric project that can give you electricity is maybe like a dam or an electric mill.
Right. So usually you have these on rivers and they just take advantage of the flowing of water to turn some huge turbines and generate power. So that's all we have for now. Why don't we listen to the dialogue again? And we'll be back shortly to take a look at some more words.
Those are the headlines for today. And now for the International Weather Report with Mike Sanderson.
Thank you, Bob. This past week has been the beginning of Armageddon for many, as a series of unprecedented meteorological events occurred around the world. In Switzerland, a major avalanche was reported in the Alps. Fortunately, no one was injured. Due to the extreme cold this winter, a blizzard has struck the U.S. Midwest, causing classes in schools and universities to be temporarily canceled. Moving on to Latin America, Ecuador has suffered a 6-month drought that has not only affected farming, but has also forced the closure of the hydroelectric power plant that provides electricity for the entire country. In Chile, a major earthquake that registered 7.5 on the Richter scale struck the southern region. Losses are reported to be in the billions. Authorities have not yet released an official statement.
Not a great week for the world. Any good news?
I'm afraid not, Bob. One of the major volcanoes in Mexico has erupted, causing major floods and landslides in the region. Meanwhile, Mexico's coast has been hit by Hurricane Liliana, and officials say that all the seismic activity leads them to believe that a tsunami may hit Central America, affecting Honduras, Guatemala, and Panama. That's all the news we have for today, but stay tuned for updates on the 6 o'clock news. Back to you, Bob.
Well, a word that many people are unfortunately familiar with is Richter or Richter scale. And now this is something that a lot of people are talking about right now because of the earthquake in Sichuan, China last year, and the earthquake in Haiti very recently. And so the Richter scale, that's a big R because it's a proper name, is a way for us to determine how severe, how big the earthquake was.
Right, so people talk about a 6.0, a 7.1, so that's on the Richter scale.
The lowest is 0 and the highest is 10, correct?
Right, but 10 is like impossible, apparently.
Apparently, and a lot of them are actually underwater, but the very serious ones are maybe 8.0, 7.0.
All right, so Richter scale. Now, we talked about earthquakes, we talked about snowing. Now, let's talk about a volcano. A volcano in Mexico has erupted.
Okay, so we've got two words here, volcano. A volcano is a mountain that has an opening in the center where lava from the middle of the earth, the center of the earth, can come out. So it's very dangerous, obviously, because it's very hot.
Right.
But a volcano doesn't open, it erupts. So the verb here that we use with a volcano is to erupt.
Okay, so it doesn't explode, a volcano erupts.
That means to open violently, very quickly.
Okay, so when this happens, obviously you have a lot of lava, you have maybe snow that melts, and you have floods and landslides.
Okay, landslides. A landslide is one word, but it's made up of two words that you probably already know. So land, obviously, it's the ground and
the
things
earth.
like that, the earth. but a slide is to move down across the ground. And so a landslide happens when you've got something like lava or water that's pushing all of the earth, all of the ground down, and it's destroying houses and trees and land, and it's very, very destructive.
Right. So you usually see this that happens on the side of mountains or on the side of hills where all that land starts to slide down or to go down. And it's very similar to an avalanche, right? But instead of snow falling down, it's land.
Mud and land.
Mud, yeah. All right. So we have a landslide. And because of all the eruptions and the earthquakes, they said that they have a lot of seismic activity.
This word seismic is something that I've heard a lot recently in movies like 2012.
Yeah.
So seismic means having to do with the movement of the plates under the Earth's crust. So, you know, the Earth is not everything that we see. It's also activity, things happening underneath the ground.
Right.
And so underneath the ground, we have these big plates, and seismic activity is what happens when these kind of things start to move. Activity is movement. And so seismic activity refers to earthquakes and volcanoes, things that are changing under the ground that will affect us.
Okay. So that's seismic activity. It's pronounced seismic, right?
Seismic, that's
Seismic.
correct.
Okay. And because of all this activity, people say that they may have a tsunami.
Well, this doesn't sound very English, does it?
I know, tsunami. And actually, if you see the spelling, it's with a T, T-S.
Right, I think it's a Japanese word, but I'm not positive.
I think so too.
Tsunami is the name that we give to a giant tidal wave. So that's a wave of water in the ocean that's very, very dangerous because it can get to 100, 200 feet tall. And this means that when it comes down, it can destroy houses, cities, cars, things like that.
Right.
And there was a very, very famous tsunami in Southeast Asia in 2004. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and in Indonesia, right?
That's right, in Indonesia and Thailand and Vietnam.
Yeah, it was intense. It was big. And it was also because of an earthquake, right?
I think so. All these earthquakes, they move the earth around, and then all of a sudden the reaction is that there's water that moves,
This
and the water
huge wave.
then turns into a wave.
Yeah, just imagine what happens if you have a bucket of water and then you start moving the bucket just a little bit, and you see how water starts to splat all over the place.
That's right.
All right, so tsunami was our last word for today. Why don't we listen to our dialogue again, and we'll be back shortly.
Those are the headlines for today. And now for the International Weather Report with Mike Sanderson.
Thank you, Bob. This past week has been the beginning of Armageddon for many, as a series of unprecedented meteorological events occurred around the world. In Switzerland, a major avalanche was reported in the Alps. Fortunately, no one was injured. Due to the extreme cold this winter, a blizzard has struck the U.S. Midwest, causing classes in schools and universities to be temporarily canceled. Moving on to Latin America, Ecuador has suffered a 6-month drought that has not only affected farming, but has also forced the closure of the hydroelectric power plant that provides electricity for the entire country. In Chile, a major earthquake that registered 7.5 on the Richter scale struck the southern region. Losses are reported to be in the billions. Authorities have not yet released an official statement.
Not a great week for the world. Any good news?
I'm afraid not, Bob. One of the major volcanoes in Mexico has erupted, causing major floods and landslides in the region. Meanwhile, Mexico's coast has been hit by Hurricane Liliana, and officials say that all the seismic activity leads them to believe that a tsunami may hit Central America, affecting Honduras, Guatemala, and Panama. That's all the news we have for today, but stay tuned for updates on the 6 o'clock news. Back to you, Bob.
So, Marco, these are all pretty terrifying. Have you ever experienced a meteorological event like one of the ones that we talked about today?
I've actually lived it through like 3 earthquakes, like pretty big ones.
Well, that's because you used to live in Los
in
Angeles.
LA. So we get them all the time in LA. Apart from that, I've seen a volcano erupt a couple of times because, you know, Ecuador is part of the volcano alley, right? It's all the Andes Mountains, and it's part of the Circle of Fire, what they call. So we have a couple of different active volcanoes, and from time to time they will start to smoke or to spew some lava, but nothing major. Like, there hasn't been a major catastrophe with the volcanoes. Hopefully it won't either.
Well, and these days they have a lot of equipment, seismic equipment and meteorological equipment that can help meteorologists to determine when things will happen, like when a volcano will erupt or if there will be an earthquake, because they can study the tremors in the ground.
Right. Yeah, and I think probably the most famous volcano is, I think it was in Italy, right? Mount Vesuvius.
That's right. So you've got Mount Vesuvius in Naples, which famously destroyed a number of cities in this ancient civilization and ancient
What is a
Roman
major
times.
eruption?
It was, and what's amazing is that they still have a lot of the buildings
Underground,
under
right?
the ash.
Wow.
Because when all the ash settled, it preserved the bodies like a mummy.
That's
and so you
crazy.
can see the bodies and the things that they, their jewelry and their money. And it's fascinating because it's this horrible, horrible natural disaster actually helped us in the future learn about this old civilization.
Yeah. It's crazy. Actually, in Ecuador, you can see a huge hole that has like a lake in the middle. And you're like, oh, wow, that's beautiful. But that's actually caused because the entire mountain just kind of blew the top off, like the cone, because of this major eruption. So you can just imagine how
Wow.
powerful these eruptions are. I can just imagine what it would have been like Mount Vesuvius.
Weather and the world around us. Weather is something everyone talks about. It's part of daily life, and it changes all the time. Sometimes it's sunny and warm. Other times it's rainy, cloudy, or cold. But weather can also be strong, powerful, and even dangerous. When the weather becomes very extreme, it can cause big problems for people, cities, and nature. This is what we call extreme weather. Extreme weather is more than just a rainy day or a cold morning. It includes events that are unusual, surprising, and often destructive. Some of these are blizzards, hurricanes, droughts, earthquakes, and floods. These events are called natural disasters because they happen in nature and they can harm people, homes, and even entire countries. When you turn on the news, you often hear about these events. Maybe there was an earthquake in one country or a hurricane near the coast. These are called meteorological events, which means weather events. Some are caused by the air, some by the water, and others by the ground under our feet. Learning the words for these events helps us understand the world better. It also helps us talk about news, safety, travel, and daily life. When you learn about weather in English, you are learning how to speak about something that matters to everyone. The weather doesn't ask permission. It can come quietly or suddenly. That's why knowing how to talk about it is important, not just in school, but in real life too. Snowstorms and cold weather. In many parts of the world, winter brings cold temperatures, snow, and ice. Some places only get light snow or a little frost, but others experience strong and dangerous snowstorms. These are called blizzards. A blizzard is more than just falling snow. It happens when there is heavy snow, very strong wind, and very low visibility. That means it becomes hard to see anything. The air looks white, the wind feels freezing, and walking or driving becomes risky. During a blizzard, schools often close, flights are delayed, and people are told to stay indoors for safety. Another danger during cold weather is an avalanche. This happens in snowy mountains. When a lot of snow builds up and suddenly breaks loose, it slides down the mountain quickly. An avalanche can bury roads, homes, or even people. It moves like a wave of snow and is very powerful. Extreme cold can also freeze rivers, damage pipes, and stop electricity. In some cases, it becomes hard for people to heat their homes or find food and water. That's why weather warnings are important. If people hear that a blizzard is coming, they can prepare, stay warm, store supplies, and avoid going outside unless it's necessary. Learning these words, blizzard, avalanche, and extreme cold, can help you understand news stories or travel alerts. They also help when talking with others about safety or weather in their countries. Weather isn't just a small part of life. When it's extreme, it changes everything around us. especially when it turns cold and wild. Dry days and dangerous droughts. Sometimes the problem is not too much weather. It's not enough. In some parts of the world, rain doesn't come for many weeks or months. When there is no rain for a long time, the ground becomes very dry. Plants stop growing, rivers shrink, and the air feels hot and dusty. This is called a drought. A drought can be quiet at first. The skies look clear, and the sun shines every day. But slowly, the land begins to suffer. Without water, farmers can't grow crops. Animals don't have enough to drink. People may even lose access to clean water for drinking, cooking, or washing. In some countries, droughts can stop electricity too. That's because some places use hydroelectric power, electricity made from flowing water. When there's no water, the power plants can't work. This can cause blackouts in homes, businesses, and schools. Droughts don't happen quickly like a storm. They grow slowly, but their effects last a long time. That's why it's important to save water, even when everything seems normal. People are encouraged to take shorter showers, turn off taps, and use water wisely. Understanding the word drought helps when reading about world news, especially in countries where farming is important. It also teaches us that not all weather problems are loud or fast. Some, like a drought, are slow but serious. Extreme weather is not always about storms. Sometimes it's about what's missing, like water, and how people try to live without it. Shaking ground, earthquakes, and seismic activity. Not all natural disasters come from the sky. Some begin deep under the ground. One of the most sudden and powerful events on Earth is an earthquake. An earthquake happens when the ground shakes, sometimes just a little, and sometimes with great force. Earthquakes are caused by movements under the Earth's surface. These movements are called seismic activity. The Earth is made of large pieces, like puzzle pieces. And when these pieces push or slide against each other, the ground above can shake. This shaking can break buildings, crack roads, and even destroy whole cities. To understand how strong an earthquake is, scientists use the Richter scale. This is a number system that shows how powerful the earthquake was. A small number means light shaking. A bigger number, like 7 or 8, means strong shaking and serious damage. Earthquakes that happen in the ocean can also cause giant waves, which are called tsunamis. Many people around the world live in places where earthquakes are common. That's why they learn how to stay safe, by hiding under strong tables or moving to open spaces. Schools and offices often practice earthquake drills so that people know what to do when the ground begins to move. Learning words like earthquake, seismic activity, and Richter scale helps you understand news reports and global events. It also helps when talking about past experiences or sharing safety tips. The Earth may seem still and quiet, but deep below, it is always moving. When that movement reaches the surface, everything can change in just a few seconds. Fire and lava, volcanoes and eruptions. Some natural disasters come with smoke, fire, and molten rock. These happen when a volcano erupts. A volcano is a mountain that has an opening deep inside the earth. When pressure builds up underground, hot lava, gas, and ash burst out. This event is called a volcanic eruption. A volcano doesn't just open gently, it erupts. That means it explodes with force. Lava runs down the sides of the mountain, and thick smoke fills the air. The sky can turn dark, and people nearby may have to leave their homes. It's not just the lava that causes danger. The eruption can also cause floods and landslides, especially if snow or heavy rain mix with ash and mud. A landslide is when part of a mountain or hill suddenly slides down. The earth moves quickly, carrying rocks, trees, and even houses with it. Landslides can happen after volcanic eruptions or heavy storms, especially in places with steep hills. Even though volcanoes are dangerous, they are also part of our planet's natural process. Some people live near volcanoes and watch them carefully. Scientists use special tools to study seismic activity and gases to know when a volcano might erupt. This helps them warn people in time. Volcanoes are part of Earth's power. Learning words like volcano, eruption, lava, and landslide gives you the tools to understand more about geography and safety. Sometimes, beauty and danger come from the same place. Volcanoes remind us how active and alive our planet really is. Storms from the sea, hurricanes, and tsunamis. Some of the strongest and most dangerous natural disasters come from the ocean. When strong winds and heavy rain move in a circle over warm ocean water, a huge storm is formed. This is called a hurricane. A hurricane brings powerful winds, heavy rain, and big waves. It can break windows, tear off roofs, and knock down trees and power lines. When it hits land, it can flood streets and homes, leaving many people without electricity or clean water. Hurricanes can last for many hours and sometimes even days. That's why weather experts watch them carefully and warn people early. Another dangerous event from the ocean is a tsunami. A tsunami is not just a big wave. It is a series of giant waves caused by an underwater earthquake or volcanic eruption. At first, the ocean may pull back, showing the sea floor. Then suddenly, a huge wall of water rushes toward the land. Tsunamis move fast and can reach far, hitting cities and villages near the coast. They destroy buildings, roads, and everything in their path. People often have only minutes to escape, so early warnings are very important. Hurricanes and tsunamis are very different, but both bring water and power from the sea. Knowing the words hurricane and tsunami helps you understand weather reports, news stories, and safety advice. The ocean can be calm and beautiful, but when nature changes, it becomes wild and strong. That's why it's important to learn and talk about these powerful forces, especially when they come from the sea. Staying safe and talking about weather. Extreme weather and natural disasters can happen anywhere in the world. They may come from the sky, the sea, or deep below the earth. Some, like hurricanes and earthquakes, happen quickly. Others, like droughts, grow slowly over time. But all of them have something in common. They affect people's lives, and they require action and understanding. One of the most important things during extreme weather is staying safe. People listen to weather reports, follow emergency instructions, and prepare in advance. This might mean storing food and water, having a flashlight ready, or knowing where to go in case of danger. In schools and offices, people practice drills for fires, earthquakes, or storms. These drills help everyone stay calm and know what to do. Talking about weather is also a way to connect with others. You can share your own experiences. Maybe you lived through a blizzard or saw a volcano from a distance. You can also ask others, have you ever been in an earthquake? Or, what do you do when a hurricane is coming? These kinds of questions help you learn more English and also learn more about people and their lives. In English, there are many useful words and phrases for weather. Phrases like, there's a storm coming, or we're expecting heavy rain, or the temperature is dropping, help you understand what's happening around you. They also make it easier to follow the news and stay safe when something serious is happening. Learning how to talk about the weather is more than just small talk. It's a skill that helps you stay informed, prepared, and connected to the world.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Great snow. Blizzard. A prolonged period of scanty rainfall. Drought. A very big rain and windstorm. Hurricane. A large sea wave produced by an earthquake. Tsunami. Something tech relating to or caused by an earthquake. Seismic activity.
Let's try that faster.
A very big rain and windstorm. Hurricane. A prolonged period of scanty rainfall. Drought. Something tech relating to or caused by an earthquake. Seismic activity. Great snow. Blizzard. A large sea wave produced by an earthquake. Tsunami.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Blizzard.
With the blizzard came strong gusts of wind, freezing temperatures, and near zero visibility because of all the blowing snow.
Blizzard.
The blizzard warning will remain in effect until tomorrow morning, when the winds will die down to about 30 kilometers per hour.
Blizzard.
If you really need to venture out into that blizzard with your car, you are going to have to go at a crawl because of the near whiteout conditions and the danger of drifting.
Drought.
The lack of rain in the spring and the above average temperatures caused a drought in the late summer.
Drought.
We have to start conserving water because of the drought.
Drought.
For about half a decade in the 1930s, the prairies in Canada and the United States experienced a severe drought, during which there were numerous dust storms, and the land became a wasteland.
Hurricane.
Several mudslides occurred in this region shortly after the hurricane passed through.
Hurricane.
North Atlantic hurricanes are formed off the tip of Africa, build as they travel across the Atlantic Ocean, and then finally hit the Caribbean and the southern United States at full force.
Hurricane.
The weather became very calm all of a sudden, and we knew that the eye of the hurricane was passing over us.
Seismic activity.
He measured the earthquakes using a seismograph and noticed the increase in seismic activity.
Seismic activity.
Seismic activity can cause new land masses to form and the destruction of others.
Seismic activity.
The seismic activity caused earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and multiple tsunamis.
Tsunami.
When there is a massive earthquake on the ocean floor, a lot of water is displaced, forming a tsunami as this water travels towards land.
Tsunami.
The Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004 was caused by one of the largest earthquakes ever recorded.
Tsunami.
She looked out over the land, still flooded in areas by water left by the tsunami that had ravaged her home just days before.